G'day, and this is me. I already fucked it. Me. G'day, I hope we are well. This is going to be a video on Arch-based EndeavourOS with the KDE Plasma 5 desktop environment. As you can see, this desktop environment, KDE Plasma 5, comes with all these widgets you see on here, like the cool individual core usage, memory usage, the little clock there, the network speed, hard disk activity, all comes stock with KDE. We'll go into settings. Very similar. This is called the sidebar view of the system settings within KDE. We can also go icon view. It's still categorized, it just looks different. So we'll go to sidebar view. Windows, stealing it. Animation speed you can change, your wallpapers, all simple stuff. Workspace, things, appearance. Some of the stuff is pretty cool, like for instance, something you can't do in Windows, customize the splash screen for the operating system. Have a look at this. Isn't that cool? I think that's damned cool. I wonder if Microsoft Windows 11 will change the splash screen in any meaningful way, or if that video trailer was just a whole bunch of crap. Just customization after customization, different icons, a shit ton of cursors, and you can install more easily. You just hit get new cursors. You don't have to browse around for dodgy things, go on dodgy websites, getting spyware and malware. Just do it all from there. And because it's Linux, it's just a little more trustworthy than Microsoft's supply chain of where they get their things from themselves and whoever knows where else. This is something that Microsoft doesn't have. It has what each category within the categories, I guess, whatever. That's pretty cool. Network settings. We all know Linux just dominates at networking. They wouldn't really use it for servers and stuff otherwise, I wouldn't expect. Certificates, all that good stuff. Input settings, mouse, acceleration profiles, and your pointer speeds. All your general stuff. You can play with the compositor. You can make it render in different sorts of OpenGL, or you can use the X-render from X. Change the latency, how it repaints on the screen. You can choose whether you want applications like games, for example, or full screen video players to block composition completely, which was well needed for a while there, back in GNOME and things like that. That would have page tearing for videos. That is no longer an issue. This I will admit is pretty basic, but there is a new audio thing for Linux being worked on, I think from Fedora, called Pipewire. It's basically like a cross between Jack and ALSA. I'm looking forward to that and seeing what we can do with that and how good bit-perfect playback is. Just general stuff, Bluetooth. We have KDE Connect, which was around a long time before the quote-unquote your phone functionality of Windows 10, which they applied, I think, in some random feature update. This is more functional and it is easier to use than the Windows stuff. This is also more flexible in the devices you can use. You can use it on more basic phones than the your phone stuff on Windows. You can use the thing as a wireless. You can use your phone as a wireless touchpad that works really, really fast and with negligible, noticeable latency. Thunderbolt support if you've got Thunderbolt, and then finally you got your system information. But yeah, this is it is very similar. What's in the panel isn't really what I was trying to say. Was the same as what Windows has copied. No, I was saying there is stuff on the side here. You have a search box in the exact same location as this right here, the exact same. They could have put it there. They could have made it disappear. They could have had it slide down. They could have done anything else, but no, the exact same. That there. It might look slightly different. Maybe it doesn't glow blue, but it's the same. You know it is. Don't reach and say it looks nothing the same, because it is. So yeah, there's your settings. I might go back to icon view. Yeah, that looks better. Well, I like it. It's less messy on the eyes. And yeah, we have the top bar, which has your date and transparent and frosted transparent effects. Looks pretty good. I think it looks pretty good to me. The calendar and stuff looks visually appealing. It's functional. You can add an alarm clock to it if you want. KDE has been really good. I thought it was quite resource intensive, and compared to things like XFCE and maybe Cinnamon, it is quite a bit heavier, but it's really no much more heavier than GNOME. So yeah, you also got the CPU and GPU temperatures nicely located in there. That's stock KDE functionality. You got this sort of looking stuff, which was around before Windows tried to implement it in stall from KDE and the likes of Deepin. Deepin is a Chinese spin from KDE itself. Recent devices, disks and devices, sound and stuff. It's all consistent. It all has a consistent look. Then at the top bar we got a nice menu that pops out, a KDE menu. Got sleep and all the hibernate, shutdown, restart options, etc. Yeah, click on one and the screen fades and sort of looks like that. That's all nice. I know beauty is in the eye of the beholder, but it'll visually make sense. I do like the way I've designed or put together. I designed nothing really. I put together my desktop. I put all these stock KDE widgets around in places, and the plank dock at the bottom here, I put them all around a wallpaper I made. I did the picture, I edited the picture. I'm quite happy with how it looks, how everything functions, how efficiently things are to get to and see and notice with the way I use my computer. So now we've got the file explorer, so to speak, in Windows language, called Dolphin. See, Dolphin. Interesting name, but yeah, you got a nice consistent look. We've got blue folders. There's no sort of break in the look of the dark theme. There's no breaking things, because the terminal's quite important. We've got a terminal option. You can pop that up at the bottom and it shows you all the commands that it's running as a terminal through the file explorer, quote unquote. And then you can just close that off, all very easy. It's tabbed browsing. It's got raw image support. Gives you, all you have to do, instead of right clicking going into there, scrolling through tabs like you do with Windows, you just highlight the image, and it gives you the image and all the camera details of the pictures you've chosen, or file you've chosen, or whatever. And then you got more tabbed browsing. You got a lot of options. Tabbed browsing is just great. You can do the size, icon size changing and layout changing, holding shift and scrolling the scroll wheel, just like you can in Windows. I'm not sure who had it first. We have MPV player. No forced having to buy media codecs. This is 2021, and that should not be a thing. You shouldn't have to buy basic media playback functionality. MPV player was forked from something called MPlayer, given cleaner code, higher performance. You can do all the same sort of stuff as you can in VLC, but it doesn't have a horrid, messy graphical user interface, and they haven't screwed it up like VLC. It's just become an absolute disaster. So just do that, bam, fucking instant MPV player. Image functionality. So we'll have a look at the settings of Dolphin. It's just settings upon settings upon settings. You can leave things on stock settings, which is just plenty decent. You can change the settings for each viewing mode with the compact, icons and details modes. You can change the fonts and stuff for them, the label widths. You can change everything, but you don't have to. And Linux doesn't try to hold your hand like a baby. It lets you do what you want, when you want, how you want, and as much as you want. It is not a communist operating system. Forcing people to do stuff when you have a monopoly is, I liken it to communism. It's like being told by your government, you can do this, you can't do that, and if you don't, then you're fucked. Yeah, so I think Dolphin's pretty good as a part of KDE. Hidden files, search, see, you go to search, that's visually consistent. Hidden files, visually consistent. You want your information on the side, visually consistent. So, what shall I go to next? Let's try the system monitor. I wonder if that looks any better than the Windows one. Do you reckon they would have improved the system monitor on Windows 11? Because Windows 11 surely wouldn't just be a reskinned Windows 10. Surely not. Memory, disk, CPU, the networks, IPs, network rates, the detailed information about Linux with your desktop environment version, your Qt version, host name, things like that. What's running, what's eating CPU, memory. Then you can go into individual applications, you can go into your processes, you got a nice visual history sort of thing. As you can see here, it looks pretty nice, and visually consistent with the dark theme. Yeah, so I like that. With hardware support, you can use something called DKMS, which is dynamic kernel module support for modules outside of the kernel. So hardware support is nowhere near as tricky as people make it out to be. You just have to learn these things with Linux. And speaking of hardware, I use a Corsair mousepad and a Corsair gaming keyboard, mainly because I like the feel of the keyboard, and the keyboard's good. And you can configure it with open source drivers called CKB Next. these open source drivers are visually better and easier to configure than the horrible Corsair stock drivers for Windows. So whoever did this has done a brilliant job of it. You can update the firmware, change the polling rate, all of that sort of stuff you can do within the official Corsair software on Windows. But it's open source and everything is just visually makes sense. It's not messy, it's not hard to figure out where things are. You save to the keyboard, you got all your effects you can change on each individual device, or you can link them together. It's the exact same as functionality on Windows, but it's just easier to use and it's effective, and I haven't had it fail. What about overclocking a graphics card, an NVIDIA graphics card? Surely that would be hard. No. We have something called Green with Envy. Doesn't this look pretty handy? You got the ability to change your power limits, you can monitor your temperatures, change your fan profile, do all that sort of good stuff that you need to install quite hefty sized software on Windows to be able to do. I've done it before. Then we got, if you want to manage kernels on Linux, we have something called AKM, or simple, where is it? Simple kernel manager. Just do that, and you can change your kernels around. That's very easy to do. You just click on what you want, execute the command, and you have a GUI way of changing your kernel around. The package manager is Pacman. Well, I'm running Pacman 6. That's based from Arch. So for Windows programs, I don't have it on here, so I'll just have to talk about it. We have something called WinApps, which is an automatic virtual machine launching assistance for programs like Photoshop, Adobe Photoshop, and for games. Or we have things like Wine with front ends, like something called Play on Linux. We've got Proton on Steam. We've got Steam Play with games. I've never had any issues with native games like Counter-Strike, CSGO, and the Amnesia games. They have native Linux versions. Borderlands 2 through Steam plays absolutely great. That's running native Linux. I've had issues when lazy game developers don't develop and drop support for kernels. They just argue amongst themselves and play the blame game instead of just getting to work and building something for every platform. They can do cross-platform play with consoles, phones, other things. I don't see why Linux is such an issue. It's just absolutely lazy. So now, as I was talking about Pacman 6, that is the terminal-based package manager, which is linked, or at least used to be linked, to the add and remove programs thing. This is called Parmac, and it is ripped from Manjaro, and it has just been updated. There were a few issues with it that I addressed, and then an update came and fixed it. So now with this, it updates everything you need from within this, just like you can in the terminals. Yeah, Qubit torrent needs an update, why not? Just enter the password, nice and secure. It's been a thing of Linux for however many years. I wonder why Windows has always had such issues with viruses and malware and other shit all throughout history. As far as viruses on Linux, there are ones you can get. You can get dodgy software through the Arch user repository and snaps and app images and things like that, but that usually indicates a supply chain issue. And as long as you know what you're doing and you keep your ear out for what to look for when things don't look official, or what to do, or you're pretty safe. A lot safer than just browsing around on the internet, downloading an executable, disabling your antivirus, or some people just not using an antivirus at all on Windows. So in the settings, it's pretty cool of this. We've got different sources for things. You can change the frequency of which it updates. You can change whether it automatically downloads the updates. You can change how it notifies you. You can change the amount of parallel downloads it performs. That was introduced with Pac-Man 6. It's now Parmac now has that as a graphical option you can change. You can clean up your cache from within there. You've got third-party things like the Arch user repository, and you can customize how that works and clean all that up from within there. Flatpak, snaps. I believe you can add app images with a bit of a tweak. That's all pretty easy. Let's go here. It's got like a description like that. Like Linux has had stores, I think, app stores before it was even a thing on iPhones. Yeah. So that's pretty cool. Yeah, with the more Linuxy stuff, I just hit Shift F12 and I've got my terminal already. Bang, instant right there, visually attractive. It's got transparency, lists all the stuff about your machine at the top via NeoFetch. This terminal is called Gwake. You might want to ignore the... no, that's correct. Yeah, so that's all good. Then we have another terminal called Kitty. It is apparently extremely fast. I've had no issues with it or formatting issues. Because of the power of KDE, you can also make that transparent, frosted, or whatever the hell you want it to look like. Because we have choices with open source software. It's all about that choice. I'll close that off. Let's do a little update. I don't think there's much to update, but we'll do it through Yay. Excuse me. No, but that's easy enough to do. Maybe go back into that one again, do htop. It's a sort of terminal-based resource manager. Yeah, it's all good. What else do we have? Oh yeah, we've got pretty good stock disk management utilities, which are visually nice. So we got disks from GNOME. Very easy. Let's erase some partitions on this flash drive. Yep, that's all done. Then we'll, with the free space, we'll create just a fat file system on there. Doesn't take long, easy to do. Bam. FAT32 flash drive, all formatted. We also have great open source ISO, thumb drive creation programs. So we've got something called SUSE Studio Image Writer. So we'll just go and let's build pfSense. Yes, we'll do that. Hit write. It automatically does that. It'll overwrite that. Correct. Password. And it'll just, yeah, it'll write that. It'll probably it should pop up saying an auto mount after that's done doing its thing. We also have something called Audacious, which has a pretty nifty looking skin that sort of reminiscent of a player that a few people might have liked back in the day, Winamp. It's got all the essential settings. You can change all your different sorts of outputs. You can have it ALSA. I have got this set up for bit matched playback. It's actually nowhere near as hard as I would have thought. Yeah, just something simple, visually attractive, and fast. That's all I want. I want something to play my MP3s. That's it. I know where things are. I put them there. That's all I want. I don't want a media like. There we go. So the image writer's done. Cool. So that will be here. There we go. pfSense flash drive created. Very nice. Audio player, that's gone through. Yeah, I explained about MPV player. We also have KDE, which is good for, well, I personally use it for watching my TV shows. We do have, when people do make Linux versions, we've got that on Linux. So we've got things like Steam and Discord and Spotify. We've got things like EndeavourOS, which is a version of Firefox. EndeavourOS is free in both price and freedom. It's more secure than the Brave browser. It doesn't sell data to advertisers, and it doesn't use your PC for mining Bitcoin. All things that Brave does, and it's supposed to be good for privacy. Fuck that shit. What else do we have? We've got LibreOffice. I know it's sometimes it's a hotly debated topic, this LibreOffice, but we got spreadsheets, database, drawing, presentations, the word processor, obviously. And if you don't like that and you're really dedicated to working on Microsoft Office, you can just go across to the Azure cloud platform, which is mainly Linux anyway, and just use Microsoft Office via the cloud. Everyone has the internet these days, right? Yeah, we've even got interesting open source software like Mix. And then finally, we've got what I'm using to record this. Simple, it's got a low or very easy learning curve. It's very easy to use. It's got a wizard built in and just keeps recording. So yeah, that's my just from a graphical user interface perspective, that's just some of the reasons I love my Linux desktop so much over Windows. And why not support the sort of origins of open source with Linux instead of patching on executable files onto Windows. We've of course got all the package management in Linux. Alright, well, I hope this video has shown some of why I enjoy EndeavourOS so much. Thank you for your time, and thank you for watching.